Millionaire discovers shocking abuse. His incredible response saves his daughter's life forever. Jake Thompson, a self-made millionaire, had always embodied the American dream. With relentless determination and a burning desire for success, he transformed his life from poverty to prosperity in Oak Brook, a bustling suburb just outside of Chicago. But for all his wealth, nothing mattered more to him than his family. The heart of his life wasn't the luxury cars or the sprawling estate, it was his 12-year-old daughter, Emma. She was his joy, his light, a bubbly ball of energy with dreams bigger than the sky. But one evening, as he tucked her in, he glimpsed something different in Emma's eyes, an unspeakable sorrow. It felt like a weight was settling on his chest. This vibrant child, normally filled with laughter, was dimmed by something he couldn't yet comprehend. For days, he watched her retreat into silence. When he dared to ask, the words caught in his throat, fear echoing in his heart. The next morning, he decided to take a closer look. The elite private school Emma attended, with its impressive campus and prestigious reputation, had always seemed perfect, yet upon entering, Jake felt a disquieting shift in the air. The once lavish hallways echoed with laughter, but masked something darker. Secrets were carved into the plush carpets, whispers littered the walls. Emma's friends, with shining faces, were entangled in a web of pressure and excruciating race to fit in and perform, their youthful innocence crushed under the weight of unrealistic expectations. Days turned into a storm of anxiety as Jake delved deeper into the school's toxic culture. He discovered students silenced and shunned, terrified of their peers and the adults meant to protect them. The sharp buzz of entitlement and privilege seeping into the environment chilled him. What had been built for their kids felt more like a gilded cage. Fueled by anger and heartache, Jake confronted the school administration. But the polished smiles he received disguised cold indifference. "Just how many more children will suffer before you step in?" he demanded, each word a blade cutting through the air. But they merely shrugged, unwilling to disrupt the status quo for the sake of progress. As tension simmered elsewhere in the community, Jake realized that he was up against a wall of privilege and complacency. The once friendly parents, now allies of the oppressive system, stood against him. What kind of monster challenges our children's success? They whispered behind closed doors, laughter tainted with derision. He felt isolated, the love for his daughter instinctively pitting him against the very fabric of their friendly neighborhood. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then, the heart-wrenching news of another child, a brilliant student, who hadn't survived the pressures of their elite lifestyle, rocked Jake's world. The pain shattered him. A fire ignited within, and he vowed to fight for the truth, for Emma and every other child like her. He organized town hall meetings, sharing stories that blurred the lines between fear and hope. His voice rose, a rallying cry for change, igniting a movement that demanded the very values the school was built upon. As Jake stood before the school board, the weight of their gaze bore down on him. Every eye glimmered with judgment, and whispers wound around him like chains. His heart pounded, caught between a yearning to protect his daughter and the vast unknown of what it meant to go against everything he had built. Would he stand firm, or would he allow fear to silence his convictions? The answer might reshape his world forever. Jake took a deep breath. The air felt thick with tension, a palpable reminder of the power dynamics swirling around him. Every parent in the room, dressed in their finest clothes, glared at him as if he were a storm cloud threatening their sunny day. But inside his heart, a fire raged. This was about more than social niceties. It was about saving Emma's future, the futures of all the children at that school. "Enough is enough," he shouted, his voice breaking through the quiet murmur of the crowd. "You say you care about our kids, but what I'm seeing is a system that is crushing them." His words hung in the air, electrifying the room. A couple of parents exchanged uneasy glances. Some shifted in their seats, visibly uncomfortable with the truth slapping them in the face. Jake's pulse raced. This was his moment. "Emma is scared," he continued. "She shouldn't dread going to school, worrying about friends or grades. She should be dreaming, exploring, just being a kid." He could see the faintest flicker of recognition in a few faces. Were they starting to understand? Were they starting to hear the truth? But the board members exchanged knowing looks. One of them, a man in an expensive suit, cleared his throat. "Mr. Thompson, your concerns are noted, but our school has a stellar record. We cannot shift our philosophy for a single student." His dismissive tone cut through Jake like a knife. "A single student? It's not just one child," Jake roared back. "It's many. I've talked to parents, former students. They've all told me the same thing: fear and anxiety run rampant in this institution. We can't let this continue." A murmur of agreement rippled through a few more parents sitting behind him. Jake clung to that glimmer of hope, pressing forward. "We have to put our kids first. They deserve a safe space to grow and learn. This is not just about grades. This is about their mental and emotional well-being." But as Jake spoke, he could tell the tide was turning. Some of the parents were nodding, but others visibly bristled. He had crossed an invisible line, stepping beyond the comfortable bubble they all inhabited. He detected a tightening in the atmosphere, like the air before a thunderstorm. "Let us remind you, Mr. Thompson," the board member said, his lips curled into a tight smile, "this is a prestigious institution. Your antisocial behavior is becoming concern." Jake felt his heart sink a little. The dismissiveness of privilege stung. Antisocial? Wanting to protect my daughter and others is seen as antisocial? Well, I want to stand down until I see change. He was trembling now, the frustration coursing through him. He turned to the audience, desperation spilling from his heart's depths. "Is this what we want for our children? A life filled with fear instead of learning? All of you have loved ones in this very system. If one child suffers, we all suffer. It's time we stand together." As he looked around, he spotted Emma seated in the back, her eyes wide with a mixture of hope and anxiety. Jake's resolve hardened into steel. His voice softened. "Emma deserves to feel safe and happy. Please help me make this a better place for her and all the kids." In the silence that followed, Jake could almost hear the gears turning in some minds. Change was brewing, but would it be enough? As the meeting continued, whispers swirled around the room. He knew he had struck something deep inside them. But deep down, he could feel the ticking clock, the urgency to act before it was too late. What would be the consequence if he failed? If they did nothing? The question echoed in his mind as he walked out of the meeting, still feeling the weight of the board stairs. It was a long way to go, but he wouldn't stop fighting. He couldn't. What would happen if they silenced him? That night, as Jake lay awake, he imagined Emma's laughter, her dreams. Would they still be alive and bright if he failed? The stakes felt impossibly high. Just then, his phone buzzed. A text from a fellow parent stating that they were organizing an urgent meeting that weekend. A wildfire spreading through the ranks of those who felt similar pain and fear. Would this be the turning point they desperately needed? Jake's heart raced as he stared at the text message glowing on his screen. "We need to mobilize," it read. "Meet Saturday at the park. Let us make our voices heard." His mind whirled with possibilities. This could be the push they needed. Saturday came quickly. The park was unusually sunny. every patch of green vibrant and alive. Families dotted the space, children laughing and playing without a care in the world. But Jake felt heavier than ever. Gathering in secret, away from judgmental eyes, he hoped parents would bring with them the same fire that had ignited within him. As he arrived, he spotted a few familiar faces, parents he'd shared stories with, feelings of despair. They were scared but willing to fight. He joined those gathered, their expressions a mix of nerves and determination. He stepped forward and, taking a deep breath, addressed the crowd. "Thank you all for coming," he started, his voice steady despite the quivering hope rising in him. "This is about our kids. It's about Emma. And it's about every child in that school feeling lost, pressured, scared to be themselves." A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, as if nature itself was encouraging him. He caught sight of Melissa, a mother who had been a teacher in the district for years. She shook her head in agreement. "I've seen it firsthand. Kids need support, but they're being crushed under expectations." The murmuring energy seemed to shift in the air, growing louder. More parents joined in, sharing stories of fractured spirits, and tears spilled through sleepless nights. The realization hit hard. They were not alone. There was power in numbers. Suddenly, one father stepped forward, his face a mixture of anger and anguish. "I lost my son to this system. He couldn't take it anymore." His voice broke, but the strength in his eyes didn't fade. "If we don't stand up, we're failing our kids. Every day matters." Jake felt the heat rise within him again. This not only touched his heart, it ignited a rage against the injustice. "We need to demand a meeting with the school board. They need to feel the weight of our voices. We need a plan." They huddled in tight circles, forming small factions discussing strategies, writing messages, and pledging support. Ideas flew between them like sparks. Did they want a petition? A rally? Maybe both? They brainstormed, each suggestion pressing a little closer to a tangible plan. With each idea that flickered to life, Jake felt their shared purpose growing stronger. But doubt still trailed at the back of his mind. Would they compromise their lives for this? Would the privilege in those board members' veins silence their voices? Just how far was he willing to go for Emma and her friends? As they ended the meeting, clarity washed over him. "Let us meet again. Same time next week. We'll get more parents involved," he insisted, and an enthusiastic chorus of agreement sounded through the trees. Walking home, he took a moment to breathe, the air smelling of freshly cut grass and flower blooms. There was something healing in working together, something potent in their collective determination. But as Jake glanced at the sunset streaking across the sky, he knew a storm was brewing on the horizon, both in the community and within him. Would they be ready when the board retaliated? Would they withstand the pushback inherent in challenging status quo? The questions loomed as he entered his home, Emma's laughter ringing through the hallway. He realized then, the battle was just beginning. But one thing was certain, he wouldn't let fear dictate his actions any longer. And just as he was about to wrap his arms around her, a notification chimed on his phone, a message from an anonymous account, warning him. "You don't know who you're messing with." Jake's heart sank. What had he stumbled into? Jake's breath quickened as he stared at the alarming message. A chill ran down his spine, tightening around his heart. Who was this anonymous sender? And what did they mean? He felt inexplicably exposed, as if he'd unwittingly crossed a line he should have never approached. He glanced toward Emma, her laughter filling the air like music, innocent and carefree. For a moment, the world around him blurred into a haze. He had to protect her. Whatever this was, whatever storm was brewing, his daughter needed him more than ever. "Okay," he whispered to himself. "I need to stay focused." That night, sleep eluded him. Every little sound in the house tugged at his nerves. The message replayed in his mind like a haunting tune. You don't know who you're messing with. Was it a threat? Was someone watching them? Anxiety coiled tighter within him, turning every fleeting shadow in their home into a potential danger. Days passed with an agonizing blend of hope and dread. The parents' group met again, their spirits undeterred by the weight of uncertainty. A plan began to take shape. Petitions were drafted, speeches were written, and strategies were laid out like blueprints for a revolution. Yet, Jake couldn't shake the chilling warning echoing in his mind. At the meeting, as voices rose in passionate agreement, he fought against his own apprehension. "We need to stand strong. Our children are counting on us," he urged, but his inner turmoil gnawed him. What if this fight attracted more trouble than they anticipated? Melissa caught his eye and raised an eyebrow, sensing his distraction. "Jake, you all right?" she asked softly, her concern evident. "Just thinking," he replied, forcing a smile that felt strained. "We need to make sure we're ready for anything." She nodded knowingly, and the group continued to gain momentum. Yet Jake felt like he was on the precipice of something vast and unknown, the kind of reality that could change everything. When he got home that evening, Emma was nestled on the couch, her favorite book sprawled open on her lap, her eyes barely open. He looked at her, that small, glowing piece of light in his life, and the fierce protectiveness surged once more. He closed the book gently, kissing her forehead. "Sweet dreams, kiddo," he whispered, trying to push away the dark thoughts swirling in his mind. But as night fell, so too did a sense of foreboding. As Jake made his nightly rounds, checking the doors and windows, he felt a prickling sensation at the back of his neck. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching. He dismissed it as paranoia, yet unease settled like a weight on his shoulders. The next morning, a notification chimed on his phone while he hurriedly prepared breakfast. This time, it wasn't a message, it was a video link. Curiosity sparked against his caution. Heart racing, he clicked it open. The image that filled the screen shattered his already frayed nerves. A grainy clip showing a gathering of parents, their voices muffled but filled with urgency. Then, there were snippets of haunting images, children, tears, raw pain, all interconnected with dark overtones. And in the corner, the name of his own school district loomed like a wake-up call. He felt fists tightening around his chest. What was happening? Was this the mess they had gotten into? Blood rushed in his ears, drowning out everything else. He forced himself to read the comments explaining what he saw, parents exposing the dire realities children faced, revealing hidden layers of abuse. They were not just fighting for change. They were fighting to save lives. Suddenly, the weight of his responsibility snapped into sharp clarity. He couldn't turn back now. They had to take a stand, not just for Emma, but for every child trapped in that suffocating system. As he turned away from the screen, determination filled his chest. The message, the video, it was time to act. But just as he was about to reach out to the group, a sudden knock echoed through the house, sending a jolt of fear through him. Who was it this time? Did someone know what he was planning? With every nerve on edge, Jake cautiously opened the door, bracing himself for what lay beyond. Who or what would be waiting for him on the other side? Jake opened the door slowly, his heart racing. The hinges creaked, cutting through the tense silence. He peered into the dim hallway, the light from inside spilling out like a beacon. But it was empty. Only the cool air brushed against his skin, sending a shiver down his spine. He hesitated, scanning the porch for any sign of movement. Perhaps it was just his nerves playing tricks on him. He was about to close the door when he noticed an envelope lying on the welcome mat. It was unmarked, an anonymous white slip waiting in the stillness. He crouched down, heart pounding in his ears, and reached for it. There was no return address, and an unsettling feeling gnawed at him as he ripped it open. Inside, he found a single sheet of paper, the handwriting sharp and jagged, almost frantic. "Stay away from the truth. It won't end well for you or your family." Jake's breath caught in his throat. He stumbled back, senses heightened, the weight of the message crashing down on him like a tidal wave. It was the second warning in as many days, and this one felt more personal, more threatening. Could someone really be watching him? Gathering his courage, he stepped back inside, locking the door behind him. Emma was still asleep on the couch, her innocent face illuminated by the soft glow of the table lamp. He took a moment to appreciate her warmth, the way her chest rose and fell with each peaceful breath. She was his universe, and he had to make sure she was safe no matter what. He paced the living room, weighing his options. Should he go to the police? Would they even take him seriously? Maybe he should speak to Melissa, but could he drag her into this mess? The sound of his phone vibrating on the kitchen table startled him. It was a group text from the parents' chat, all urgent messages flying back and forth. They were organizing another meeting to discuss the shocking video that had surfaced and the need for an immediate response. Swallowing his fear, Jake typed a reply, "Count me in. We need to do this for our kids." It felt good to take a stand, a flicker of purpose igniting within him. But as he read through the other messages, a chill ran down his spine again. There were people in their community who were against their fight, people who believed they should keep quiet. He remembered the warnings, the shadows that felt so close. Were they in danger? Could intervening mean putting everyone at risk? The thought gnawed at him, pushing the urge to protect Emma into a tight ball of conflict in his gut. He grabbed his keys and decided to drive. A breath of fresh air might clear his mind. He needed to think this through, but first, he had to make sure Emma was safe. He walked back to the couch, kneeling beside her. "Emma, sweetie, can you wake up for a minute?" Her eyes fluttered open. "Dad?" she mumbled sleepily, rubbing her eyes. "I'm just heading out for a short while. You okay with that?" She nodded, a small smile breaking through the morning haze. "Can you bring back donuts?" "Deal," he smiled back, though it felt forced. As Jake stepped out, the door clicked shut with a finality that echoed through him. The world outside seemed both inviting and treacherous. He needed answers, and he would uncover them, no matter the cost. But as he drove away, a shadow moved at the edge of his vision. Someone was watching. The question loomed over him. Who was watching, and what did they want? The engine roared to life, and Jake gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white. He glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see a follower lurking behind him. But the road was clear, and yet an aching sense of unease settled in his chest. He was caught between the urgency to protect Emma and the fearful gnawing of uncertainty. As he drove, the streets blurred past, their familiarity dissolving into a haze of his worries. He needed to reach the coffee shop where the parents were gathering. A part of him dreaded the meeting, but another part felt a flicker of hope. Maybe together, they could confront whatever darkness was creeping into their lives. He pulled into the parking lot and immediately felt the pressure of the atmosphere shift. Parents clustered near the entrance, their faces a mix of determination and anxiety. Returning waves of familiarity settled lightly over him. These were people he had known for years, shared school events and summer barbecues with. Yet now, they were united by this unsettling urgency. As he stepped out of the car, he caught snippets of laundry list concerns. What if they don't take us seriously? I can't believe they're trying to silence us. What about our kids? Each voice resonated with the same fear that twisted in his gut. Jake joined the group, his heart pounding. "Hey, everyone," he called out, and they turned to him, some nodding, others seeking reassurance in his eyes. "What is the latest?" Melissa, a fellow parent, spoke up, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "We're worried that the school might just sweep this under the rug. We can't let that happen. We owe it to our kids." He felt a surge of solidarity, but also a dark dread creeping back. "I got another warning today," he confessed, the words spilling from him like poison. "It said to stay away from the truth, that it wouldn't end well for my family. The crowd fell silent, shock hanging heavy in the air. Eyes widened as murmurs erupted, everyone's fears amplified. A firm voice broke through, "That's exactly why we need to keep pushing. If they're trying to silence you, it means we're on the right track." Jake nodded, but inside he was torn. Yes, they needed to stand up, but at what cost? Would he be putting Emma at greater risk? The conversation shifted to strategizing their next move, contacting local authorities, organizing information sessions, and reaching out to news agencies. The strength in the group gave him courage, even if a part of him still felt like a coward. Suddenly, a man stepped forward, his expression intense. "There are whispers in town about this. Some want to keep things quiet. We can't let fear dictate our actions." Fear was palpable, but Jake also felt a flicker of something like resolve igniting in him. Maybe confronting this darkness wasn't just about exposing the issue. It was about reclaiming their community. As they strategized, his phone buzzed again, breaking the moment. He glanced down, heart skipping when he saw an unknown number, a name he didn't recognize, yet somehow felt ominously familiar. With a deep breath, he answered. "Mr. Hart? I have something very important to discuss about your daughter." The mention of Emma sent a jolt of panic through him. "What do you know?" he demanded, voice shaking. There was a pause on the other end, and the tone shifted. "Meet me at the old park tonight. It's urgent. But you must come alone for her safety." Jake's gaze darted to his fellow parents, who were lost in their own conversation. He was already deep in this mess, but the decision weighed heavily. Alone? What if this was a trap? But the deeper fear of losing Emma gnawed away at him, eclipsing all else. He clenched his phone tightly, heart racing. "Fine," Jake murmured, already knowing he was stepping into a dangerous game. As he hung up, the storm of emotion swirling within him seemed to thicken, pulling him ever closer to the center of something unfathomably dark. But he had to know what truth lay hidden beneath the warnings. And could he really face what awaited him tonight? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the parking lot. Jake felt that weight settle in his chest even more heavily as he noticed other parents starting to disperse, their faces still etched with worry. Should he tell them where he was going? Or would that only heighten their anxiety? The thought of leaving their fortress of support behind gnawed at him. "Jake?" A voice broke through his thoughts. It was Melissa again, concern etched on her face. "Are you okay?" He forced a smile, but it felt like a mask. "Yeah, just got a lot on my mind." Her eyes narrowed slightly, picking up on the tension in his voice. "If you need someone to talk to, we're all in this together, you know?" Jake nodded, appreciating her concern. "I will. Thanks, Melissa." With one last look at his fellow parents, he turned and headed toward his car. His heart thundered with every step. Alone. The very idea sent chills crawling up his spine. At the old park, memories of Emma's laughter echoed in the air, swinging high, racing down slides, her carefree smile lighting up the world. He parked, gripping the steering wheel, trying to breathe through the layers of fear and uncertainty. Nightfall had draped a shadowy cloak over the park. He stepped out, glancing around, ears straining for any sound. The rustle of leaves felt ominous, the wind whispered warnings. He hesitated just for a moment, questioning his decision again, but that urge to protect Emma propelled him forward. "Mr. Hart," a voice called out, slicing through the silence. Jake turned toward the sound, spotting a figure half hidden in the trees, shadows concealing most of their features. "Who are you?" Jake demanded, a mix of anger and fear washing over him. "What do you want?" "Please come closer," the figure urged, stepping out of the darkness. It was a woman, with a nervous look in her eyes that only heightened his unease. "I'm here to help you, but you need to trust me." "Trust you?" Jake shot back, every instinct on high alert. I don't even know you. She sighed, glancing to the side, as if the trees themselves might be listening. I understand, but this isn't just about you. It's about Emma. I know things you can't imagine. They're dangerous. If you don't act quickly, she could be at risk. Every syllable sent ice through Jake's veins. What do you mean? What have you heard? His voice cracked, urgency clawing at him. There's a dark underbelly connected to the school, she whispered, taking a step closer. Your daughter has stumbled into something deeper than you realize. They want to silence everyone, and you're next on their list. The chill of her words froze him entirely. He felt dizzy, grappling with the weight of it all. What do you want from me? I need you to believe me and to listen. I have information. But you must promise you'll keep Emma safe. This is bigger than you think. Jacob's pulse raced. He was already standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to leap into the unknown. What is going on? Just tell me. The woman looked around, then dropped her voice lower, almost a whisper. Meet me again tomorrow, but bring your fellow parents. We have to face this together. Before he could respond, she melted back into the shadows, leaving Jake standing alone, heart racing and breath coming in shallow gulps. An unsettling dread coiled tight in his gut, but he realized he couldn't handle this alone any longer. Did he have enough courage to rally the others? And what truths would come to light if he did? Jake's breath caught in his throat, as the weight of the woman's words pressed down on him. The darkness surrounding the park felt heavier now, each rustle a reminder of the danger lurking somewhere close. He stood frozen, grappling with a knot of dread twisting tighter in his chest. Did he want to confront whatever this was, or should he shield Emma from it all? He paced in circles, heart pounding like the beat of a war drum. What if they really were after Emma? The thought made him break out in a cold sweat. She was innocent in all this. Think, Jake. Think, he whispered to himself, his mind racing with the implications. What did this woman know? How had she even found out? Was it truly connected to the school? And if so, what had Emma walked into? A few streetlights flickered to life, casting pools of pale yellow light across the path as he looked back toward the swings that once cradled his little girl. How carefree she had been, so lost in her own world without the weight of such dark realities. Jake clawed his phone from his pocket, jittery fingers dialing Melissa's number. He didn't want to draw her into this chaos, but she was right. They were all in this together. She picked up almost immediately, her voice tinged with concern. Jake? What is wrong? I need to talk to you. Can you meet me at the diner? I'll explain everything when you get here. Bring the others, please. Of course. I'll let them know. There was a pause, perhaps a moment of hesitation on her end. Are you all right? No. But I will be. He ended the call and leaned against his car, heart racing again, but this time fueled by a spark of determination. He needed their support, their strength. They had built a wall of community amidst the chaos of being parents, and right now, that fortress felt like the only place to stand tall. It didn't take long for the diner's neon lights to gleam in the darkness, as he sat at a booth, fingers tapping nervously against the vinyl. The warm smell of coffee wafted through the air, a familiar comfort he desperately needed. He watched as the door swung open, first revealing Melissa's worried face, followed closely by a small group of parents: Daniel, Layla, and Tim. They crowded in, eyes wide with curiosity and concern. What is going on? You sounded frantic, Melissa said, sliding into the booth next to him. Jake rubbed the back of his neck, heart full of their collective worry, their shared fears now pulling him closer to the truth he had to reveal. I met someone tonight, a woman. She said there is something dangerous connected to the school. Something that involves our kids. The murmurs rose, their faces shifting from confusion to alarm. What do you mean? Are our kids in danger? Layla questioned, her voice trembling. Yes. Emma is she has stumbled into something, and if we don't act quickly, we could lose her. This woman told me we need to come together, safeguard each other and the kids. What do we do? Tim asked, urgency creeping into his tone. Jake met each of their eyes, a flicker of resolve igniting something deep inside of him. We must confront this. Together. If this is as serious as she claims, we need a plan. I won't let anything happen to Emma or any of your kids. I refuse. The table fell silent, the gravity of his words settling in. Hope battled against fear, and for a brief moment, the weight in Jake's chest felt lighter, buoyed by the presence of his friends. But as he scanned their faces, he couldn't ignore the threads of doubt weaving through them. We need to see this woman again. Find out exactly what we're dealing with. Tomorrow? Melissa whispered, a hint of fear in her voice. Yes. We need answers, and time is running out. As they nodded, agreeing to his plan, he could see the resolve forming in each of them, a collective strength brewing, ready to face whatever dark truth lay ahead. But what if they were too late? What if they weren't prepared for what they would discover? The echoes of Emma's laughter haunted him, pushing him to act, but in the back of his mind, shadows loomed larger than he dared to imagine. What if, in seeking to protect them, they uncovered something far more sinister than any of them expected? The morning sun struggled to break through a layer of gray clouds, mirroring the tension that hung thick over Jake as he stood outside his house, waiting for the others. He checked his watch for the 100th time, nerves twisting in a tight coil. The muffled sounds of birds chirping seemed so distant against the pulse of anxiety throbbing in his ears. Each parent arrived in rapid succession, faces lined with worry but determined. Melissa's eyes sparkled with fear masked as fortitude. Daniel shifted his weight nervously, his knuckles white as he gripped the strap of his bag. Layla and Tim exchanged glances, their children's safety echoing fiercely in their silence. Everyone ready? Jake asked, his voice firm, but with an edge of uncertainty. They nodded collectively, an unspoken agreement binding them together as they approached the corner cafe. Inside, the air was warm and smelled of fresh pastries, but an undeniable chill ran down Jake's spine as he scanned the room. Was the woman really going to show? His pulse raced, already weighing the 1,000 possibilities of what could happen. They settled at a table, an awkward silence enveloping them until the door swung open. A gust of wind heralded the woman's arrival. She was taller than Jake had imagined, with deep-set eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. She moved with purpose, cutting through the air like a knife. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, sliding into the booth across from them. "I know this isn't easy, but you need to listen. What do you know about our kids?" Melissa shot, her voice steady but laced with fury. "More than you realize. You're all caught up in something dark, something that connects back to the school," the woman said, locking eyes with each of them. "I've seen it, and I'm here because I've heard whispers of abuse and manipulation that are happening right under your noses." A gasp escaped Layla's lips, and Jake felt bile rise in his throat. This wasn't just about keeping their children safe. It was about uncovering a truth that was more terrifying than he had prepared for. He looked at his friends, and saw the dawning realization in their eyes. This was more real than they thought. "What can we do?" Tim asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "You need evidence. You need to show others what is happening. But it won't be easy. They've covered their tracks well, and they won't let you walk away unscathed. The longer you wait, the more danger you expose yourselves to." The implication hung heavy in the air. They were stepping into the unknown, risking everything for their children. Jake clenched his jaw, fire igniting within him. He wouldn't let fear overtake them. "I don't care what it takes. I won't let them hurt Emma or any of our kids," he said fiercely, locking eyes with his friends. Each of them nodded, their determination igniting a flame of unity amongst them. They were in this together now, willingly jumping into the abyss that lay before them. "So what is our first step?" Melissa asked, her expression fierce and resolved. "I have a place where we can start gathering information," the woman replied. "But you'll need to be discreet. This isn't something you want to make public, not yet." As they leaned closer to hear more about the plan, a moment of clarity washed over Jake. He had led them this far, but what lay ahead would test them in ways they couldn't even begin to imagine. But there was a nagging realization in the back of his mind. If they stirred this hornet's nest, would they be able to handle the fallout? Just how far would they have to go to protect Emma? The answer felt as elusive as the sun hidden behind clouds. They had opened the door to a darkness that was hungry, and it was only a matter of time before they would have to face it head-on. Would they be prepared for the storm waiting just beyond? The rain had started to fall lightly as Jake and the parents gathered in the dim cafe, their nerves crackling like static in the air. The woman's urgent tone had heightened the stakes, casting shadows of doubt over everything they had planned. Their mission to uncover the dark truths at the heart of the elite school had morphed into a quest that entwined their families' futures like a tightly woven web that could snap at any moment. "Are we ready for this?" Jake asked. Glenn, a father of two who had been quiet until now, finally spoke up. "We've already lost too much time. If there's a way to protect our kids, we've got to go all in." A wave of murmurs of agreement surged around the table, but Jake felt the weight of responsibility pressing heavily on him. The woman leaned in closer, urgency cracking her voice. "You need to focus on gathering evidence, proof of the abuse and manipulation. They'll deny everything, but children's lives hang in the balance." The intensity in her eyes sparked a shared resolve among the parents. "Do we really know what we're up against here?" Tim asked, the doubt hanging in the air like fog as he shifted in his seat. Footsteps sounded outside, and they all turned slightly, the tension palpable. "We can't turn back now," Melissa said, her gaze resolute. "Not after everything we've uncovered." "Right," Jake interjected. "So what's our next step?" "Gain intel first. Observe, listen, and gather testimonies from students, even former ones. If we can compile enough accounts, it'll help build our case," the woman replied, her intensity pouring into every word. With those guiding words, a plan formed like a sudden downpour, overwhelming but resolute. They would meet regularly, compile their findings, and share them anonymously if necessary. This fight was for their children, their laughter, innocence, dreams, everything worth saving from the shadows that loomed. Transitioning into action, the parents mobilized together. They coordinated small check-ins near school events, connecting deeply with other parents whose kids had stories to tell. It was a whirlwind of late-night meetings, whispered conversations, and collective heartbreak. The bond between them tightened, forged in the fire of shared purpose. Weeks passed. Then, the school board meeting approached. Their moment had finally come. A powerful mix of anger, hope, and anxiety stirred within Jake as he stood backstage, running through the speeches they had crafted together. The auditorium swelled with parents taking their seats, the air filled with an electric buzz of anticipation. "This is it," he whispered to Melissa, who stood beside him, determination etched on her face. As they walked out onto the stage, Jake could see the faces of the school board, stoic and condescending. Jake cleared his throat. "Thank you all for being here. We stand united today not just as parents, but as protectors of our children's futures." Silence enveloped the room. Recent weeks have revealed startling truths about the toxic culture within this school, a culture of fear that has claimed children as spirits, safety, and even lives. He could hear whispers among the audience, uncertainty rippling through them. Jake pressed on. "Emma deserves to wake up each day without fear. She deserves to grow without the burden of unrealistic expectations seeping into her dreams." His passion fired up the crowd, hands gripping chairs, eyes widening. As Melissa stood beside him, she took a deep breath and added, "We have evidence." Children who have faced the unthinkable are ready to share their stories. This is about them, not us. The air crackled as parents and students rose, recounting experiences of hidden struggles, each voice a brick laid on their growing foundation of truth. The school board's dismissive attitude became increasingly tenuous as the stories flooded the room like unstoppable waves. By the time the meeting concluded, it was clearer than ever that the tides were changing. Waves of determination washed over Jake's spirit. He had never felt more alive, more connected to the cause. They gathered after, shaking hands, exchanging encouragement, their community growing stronger. In the days that followed, conversations stirred around town. The weight of truth crumpled. Privileged parents started taking a stand, demanding accountability. The elite facade began to crack like an old mirror. It was one evening, a little while later, when confidence gripped Jake's heart. Emma ran into the living room, giggling. Her laughter, once tinged with fear, now echoed joy, drawing Jake towards her, heart swelling. "Dad, can we have dinner with Melissa and her family?" she asked, those big eyes shining with innocence. "Of course, kiddo," he responded, wrapping her in a hug, warmth radiating through him. "Whatever you want." This was the moment Jake realized fear didn't cripple them. It united them. As more parents joined their cause, empowered by Emma's laughter and all the children they were fighting for, he knew they were safeguarding the light of the future. Fear had transformed into resilience. They wouldn't stop pushing for change. This was a fight not just for Emma, but for all children caught in the line of fire. With the support of their community strong, they rid that school of the darkness that had nearly consumed it. As he stood there, enveloped by love and laughter, Jake knew the battle might not yet be over, but the spirit of change had ignited a fierce hope. The dream of protecting their children was alive, and still soaring high. The world ahead would unfold, but Jake and the parents would face it together. Their lives would shift as they transformed their pain into strength, resilient warriors united by love for their kids. In that moment, everything felt possible. Don't wait not even one more second. You need to subscribe now to catch more inspiring stories like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us spread the word. Comment below with your thoughts and feelings about this incredible journey. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing transformation. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel, so together we can create even more change.